In this video, we will be removing the spare tire in this 2012 Ford F150 through the back door on the driver's side, and underneath the back seat we have a seat release latch. And releasing that latch will allow us to lift up the seat base, and under that seat we have our easy fuel funnel, and we can also remove that insert. We then want to open up the passenger side rear door, and this seat should lift up without having to do anything. And taking a look under both of those seats, we do have two wing nuts. These will need to be removed next, and these are what are holding our tools in place. We can then slide our plastic toolbox towards the driver's side and work that out. And then we can open our toolbox. Taking a look inside of the toolbox, we do have an emergency jack. We will not need this. However, the tire iron located directly behind that we will need, as well as all of the additional connector pieces, one of which is located underneath the jack. And at this point, we're going to shift our focus back to the rear of the vehicle, and we're going to be looking for the lock cylinder at the back of the bumper. And using our ignition key, we can remove that lock cylinder. And then we can assemble that crank. And with that crank fully assembled, we are ready to lower our spare tire. And our objective is to fully insert this crank that we assembled through the bumper hole location into the guide tube. And once we have secured that in there, we can crank the handle counterclockwise until the tire is lowered all the way to the ground. And then we can remove that crank and set that aside for now. And there should be enough slack that you can slide that tire rearward just a little bit. And our goal is to have enough slack that we can remove that center retainer. And then we can remove that spare tire. Now, if you are not putting the spare tire back on immediately, you will want to raise up that retainer with the cable so it's not dragging on the ground as you're driving. And to do this, we will reinsert that crank and turn it clockwise this time. If you have previously raised that retainer and cable, you will want to start by lowering that back down. And this is done by rotating that crank counterclockwise. And because we have access to this, I do recommend spraying the cable and mechanism with Amsoil metal protector, as well as the retainer itself. We can then position our spare tire in place and work that retainer through the center of our wheel. We do want to make sure that the valve stem is facing down so we could fill this or check the air pressure from laying on the ground. And we can slide that back underneath and begin cranking it up in a clockwise fashion. And we can then remove that crank. And we can then replace that lock cylinder. And then we can put our toolkit back together. In our vehicle, we can slide that toolbox back into place and install our two wing nuts, and that followed by the rest of our components.